Okay. And we're live. That's exciting. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Katrina Padron, the founder of Shotzr HQ. Today we have a really special guest, Mark Lemmons, and what we're doing, Mark, I'm going to introduce you in just a second, but as you know, we do a podcast called Standing Out. We've done this for maybe 2 years, and honestly, we thought it would be really fun to bring some of this information in a very tactical way over the summer. We know with everyone's travel schedules and summer schedules, things are pretty busy. And I think it's fun sort of joining you as a guest on location wherever you are. So thanks for being flexible about that.
Absolutely.
Mark, first of all, tell us where you are.
I'm in San Francisco on the Bay here, enjoying a beautiful morning with a cup of coffee and the event.
Yeah. So this is Mark Lemmons, everyone. Mark has a more than 20-year career in technology leadership and has included a number of startups and executive roles at large companies like Port, Creo, and Deluxe. Mark joined the then startup Thought Equity in 2004 as CTO and later joined the board of directors as the company expanded internationally and became T3 Media. T3 was acquired by Shamrock Capital and InvestCorp in 2011. He later joined Deluxe Media as CTO, where he led a technology transformation effort at the world's largest media services company. He left Deluxe in 2016 and founded Shotzr with Frank. So let's start there, Mark. What's Shotzr? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Shotzr is close to my heart. Basically, what it is an active network and platform that connects photographers with digital marketers, people who need images all the time. These days we're constantly posting on all these different platforms, not just social media, but email marketing, all these different ways to deliver campaigns, and every one of them is image driven. And so we've never needed more imagery. But traditional stock photos don't cut it. And at the same time, it can be cumbersome and expensive to hire professional photographers. So that's what Shotzr is. It connects what's now a global network of photographers with digital marketers, and you can subscribe for $10 a month and have all access basically as an individual.
As a marketer, I feel the pain. So often we have clients come to us that need support on the marketing side, and they give us access to their files, and there's maybe 5 stock photos or something. There's not much we can do. We're going to run out of content really quick with 5 stock photos. And
that's right.
And you're right, stock just doesn't cut it in this world where, I was watching that Jerry Seinfeld riding in cars.
Comedians in cars getting coffee, yeah. Yeah.
So that one, and one of them, he said something that really stopped me in my tracks. And although it's funny, I was really thinking about it. He said, remember when people used to say, oh, I wish I had a camera, something cool is happening, I wish I could take a picture. Now we all have cameras. And I think that is like the death of stock photos right there, in that they're not going to cut it, and they're not going to build trust, and they're not going to build a brand,
No. What's funny is for 25 years, great companies like Getty basically built these giant junkyards of generic imagery. And then everything changed, and we didn't need beautiful generic imagery anymore. We needed beautiful, specific, relatable, and authentic imagery. And it's just a different aesthetic. And we also need it in a way that you're not transacting all the time. It's not about buying a photo. It's about getting access to photography from photographers. And just so I've said it, it's also about doing that in a way that's respectful of both the photographers and their work. Yeah. And, the average professional photographer in the country now makes barely above the poverty line for a family. And so how is it that we need basically 100 million images a day as businesses on the one hand?
Yeah.
And yet photographers can't make a living, and we just see there's a huge opportunity between a generic stock photo and the traditional way you think about hiring a photographer. And that's what Shotzr does. So
you know what I love about this, and my husband often joke, we're like, we want to be the creators of the bend in the straw, right? Like we use straws and then someone, you know, put the bend in it. We're like, oh, great idea.
yeah,
Like, how did this to me is one of those. Like, obviously these photographers have so much content and this is what they're doing. They're passionate about it. It's amazing. And did you say 100 million images daily?
every day. And that's just the imagery that digital marketers need. That's not, you know, all the photography on the planet at all.
Yeah, that's just the emails, the Facebook posts.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did this come up? Like, how did you do the brilliant thing of like, hey, there's a need for this? Like, what was the moment?
You know, it wasn't one moment. It was sort of a gradual thing. But when you mentioned our experience at Thought Equity, which is now called Wazi Digital, and that was basically a stock footage company. And we took the archives of, you know, several hundred great media companies, you know, whether it was the NCAA or the BBC or Sony Pictures, Paramount, these types of companies, Discovery, National Geographic. We took all their content, digitized it, made it accessible and searchable.
Yeah.
And we started to see, as mobile and social started to happen, maybe, you know, the late 2000 aughts, you know, the taste started shifting and the volume started increasing and the price started going down. But social was early enough that, you know, nobody had their footing. But basically what started to percolate at that time for me was this isn't going to work. You know, letting search sort it out and forcing someone to search through a giant inventory of stuff that they don't know what's in the inventory.
Right.
When you're, say, a real estate agent and you need to post 2 or 3 times a day to sort of engage with your clients, and you're at a closing, you're at a showing, you're doing all this stuff, you don't have time to search a giant junkyard of photos. And if you did, and you found something that you could use, you're not going to spend what still, even with subscriptions like on Shutterstock, on average, it's about $12 a photo. So what do people do? Well, they search on Google Images, they search on Instagram, they steal stuff, they settle for something they can sort of opportunistically take. And what they fail to do, you know, people talk about social media and they talk about the imagery they need, but they forget the social aspect of it. What we've seen is when you stop wasting, some of our clients spend 7 hours a week searching for images.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and if they need, say, 40 images a week, which is our client average, by the way, that's how much they're using on average. But if you're spending all that time searching, what are you not doing? You're not engaging with clients. And, you know, so it comes down to, how are you going to grow your business? Well, you're going to grow your business through digital engagement.
Right.
And to do that, you need to be focused in a different way than you needed to before. And so, you know, I didn't really answer your question, but that was the heartbeat of it, was seeing how there was a huge opportunity hiding in plain sight, you know?
So when we're talking about growth, how many photographers do you have currently?
We've got about 2,500 photographers globally that have applied to our network, and we only accept verified photographers.
Sure.
So we have about 1,000 that are active on the platform.
So how do you go? I mean, even, I don't know what your goal is, but I think a number like 1,000 is pretty large for a year and a half's worth of work.
Yep. Yep.
So,
just over a year. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about that. How do you go from 0 to 1,000?
Oh, wow. Well, you know, we started small. We started in Denver, Boulder, and we started with a handful of photographers and a chatbot that I built. And we would just connect some test clients basically with photographers directly through that network. You could text us and the little chatbot would ask you a few questions and refine their request. And we used that sort of early phase to really define what we felt like we needed to build from a technology standpoint. And then we focused on technology for the first few months. Frank and I got it into the App Store about a year ago in June. And then we had a 6-month phase where it was completely free on the client side, and we completely focused on building the photography network. And we really started on, you know, Craigslist and Instagram. You know, we would advertise a little bit on Craigslist, and we would for photographers, and we would you know, do a lot of DMing on Shotzr's Instagram, which we still do. Instagram is probably our biggest channel. in that regard, direct engagement. So.
Do you think, just on your radar, and of course, don't tell me any proprietary information,
Yep.
but you mentioned Instagram, and the news this week and last week is all about Instagram TV. Do you think video is ripe for the same sort of disruption?
It's a really interesting question. And of course, at WASI, we were entirely video focused.
Okay.
What I like to say about video is, the quick answer to your question is yes, but it's not going to be exactly the same. Photos have a utility, the old saying of, picture's worth 1,000 words. When that picture starts to move, it actually narrows the storytelling power of that image.
Oh.
So video has a lot going for it. It's very immediate. It's very kind of tactile. It's very revealing. It has all sorts of great utility. But when we talk about, what Shotzr really does, it's tough to do what we do for photos with video. We've written the software libraries to support video, and we fully plan to add it, but we want to add it in a way that makes sense. And we're still working on that.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
What do you think on the client side? Do you feel like there's a big education piece where you have to educate clients and prospective clients, or do you feel like, hey, everyone just gets it and this is, so seamless?
Yeah, it's all over the map, to be honest. There's a certain group within the social media landscape that just gets it, and
The doers, probably the ones wasting 7 hours a week.
That's right. If you really have this problem, you don't need much education, and you will latch into the resource, and you immediately get it.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's less education and it's more what I would call fatigue between all the searching and all the sort of the battle that social media can be for people, especially in the small business world. They feel like they do a lot of work. Is there a return on that? And that's where we try to shift people to focus on engagement. Yeah. And it's like, here's this media tool, focus on the engagement with your client base, and you'll see results that way. And that's where the education is. It's really how to use these new tools, Shotzr being just one of them. But, for the power users out there, we've had it many times where we sit down to talk to somebody, and there'll be 3 or 4 people in a meeting. One of them's downloading the app, getting it, and is starting to use images while we're in the session, so they completely get it. That's
awesome.
right.
What would you say, so last question before we wrap up, what would you say is on your radar as a thought leader that you think we'll all be talking about in maybe another year or now as like a trend?
Oh, wow.
Sort of thing. Like what are you paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, the stock answer right now to that question is all the AI and machine learning stuff. But where we are seeing that really be true is, we're just working on a feature now to do automatic image description. And so when you upload a photo to Shotzr, it automatically tags it. We do a little bit of editing, or the photographer does a little bit of editing. And this is in limited release right now, but then that feeds back into a machine learning model that improves the process.
Awesome.
Surprise for us was how we're applying that technology, which we originally developed for the photography side of our business. We're applying that to the customer side of the business, doing analytics on what they've posted in the past to automatically queue up their feed of the photography from our network. So, I think what's going to happen is, over the next year or two, the practical implementations on top of AI and machine learning will take it from buzzword status to, oh, it's practical. I see the benefit.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of, remember back in the day, like if you rented something from Blockbuster, they would tell you other movies you might like, right?
That's right.
We all like those features. So I think as much as machines can learn, my preference is, do that.
No, it's true. And I think the other trend, and we spoke about it a little bit, is, we've had the web now for 20, 25 years. And I think people are pretty search exhausted. And they're looking for tools, whether it be voice or high customer service, high touch tools to do more of the work for them and present them what they need, so they do have to do less digging, sifting, sorting, and searching. And we
tell you, my search tolerance has gone down. If it's not, I mean, I'll
definitely.
click the first one. I'm not going back and clicking 3, 4 more down by any means. And in fact, so much so that like when I scroll through Facebook, the last 3 purchases I've made on Facebook were from brands that I had never heard of before, but they just they knew exactly who I was, and they knew I wanted these particular things. I would have never found those brands on my own. Like I would not have searched that deeply. They're brands I'd never seen, never heard of, and I bought all 3 things. I'm like, you guys just, you know.
That's right.
And Facebook does that. Like in their ads, they now have the machine learning feature. So you see that little lab, what do you call it? Like a potion
that
bottle
icon.
testing. Yeah. And once 50 purchases are made, they feel confident they know exactly how to find, your right audience.
Yep. No, I think that's where it's at. I think our expectations as consumers and as corporate consumers, we shouldn't have lower expectations for enterprise software than we do for the stuff we're experiencing in our consumer lives.
Right.
And I think that trend just continues. And, so we'll be searching less. We'll expect more from the companies that deliver us these services, and they'll be using, machine learning to improve those offerings on a continuous basis. And that's exactly what we're doing with Shotzr.
That's awesome. Well, congrats.
Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. I wish you the best on that. And thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Great speaking with you today. Take care.